The Rift has been out on Hypixel Skyblock for almost 6 months now, so after all this time, are the money-making methods inside the Rift still profitable? To see if the Rift still makes millions of coins, I tested a bunch of money-making methods. I tried farming different types of crops, grinding moats, and a couple other things as well. I tested each of these methods for 1 hour and compared how much money I made. First off, I tested Caduceus. Seduce us. However you want to pronounce it. Basically, I just farmed these crops in this pattern that you see on screen now. For all these methods, I developed routes for grinding each of these to optimize them the best I can, and I've included them so you see how I do it. If you have any other better routes or other ways to improve my methods, then please leave them in the comments below. After crafting these into Seduce Us carrot feeders, I was able to craft 3, and I had a little left over, and with the current prices, this makes about 26 mil an hour. Next up is Berberis. Now, I know this method would not be that great, but it does have some advantages. For example, it is one of the few items that you can sell to Bazaar, so it isn't obnoxious to sell when you get slightly underbid. For actually grinding Berberis, you just want to circle around all the patches except for this big one because you waste way too much time running around to the next Berberis plant, and it's much easier to just grind with the small ones. Also, make sure you're always holding down left click because then you might just accidentally break one and that'll be beneficial for you. I ended up being able to craft 5 Berberis fuel injectors with a little over half for a 6th one. Ultimately, this made about 9 mil, which isn't great compared to the other methods, but it's still surprisingly good money. Next up, we have the half-eaten carrots in the mine over here. Now, for this one, I strongly encourage that you get the carrot on a stick thing, because dealing with this stupid rabbit is so annoying. Basically, for this method, I would go all the way to the end of the cave, abandon the rabbit, let it die, because it really let out a little bit in me. I just had to do it. Then I'd go back and get a new one, and by that time, all the carrots at the start would have respawned, so I could, just go again. Also, there's this slight optimization of bringing the rabbit to the next patch, and then going back to pick up all the carrots from before. You also need Scribe and Volt Crux, but these don't take too long to get. For scribes, just remember, all you need to do is look around at it, you don't have to stand on it, and for stuff like buttons, carpets, half slabs, and other partial blocks, they'll get in the way. For volts, what you want to do is you want to damage the volt and then run away during the lightning phase and then start another and come back for the kill. You also get additional Crux Fortune if you max out your Crux Motion. Overall, I was able to craft 2,624 exportable carrots, and I made about 28 mil, which if you factor in gathering the Cruxes, brings it down to about 25.5 mil. Next up, we have the Agaricus mushrooms. Grinding these mushrooms is pretty simple since all you have to do is stare at them and wait until they change color and then break them. Here's a route that I use for grinding them, and as long as nobody interferes, you should be able to get to the end by the time that the new ones respawn. You can even pick up moats in this one spawn point here if you have a good rotation. Why is this chicken doing that? I didn't know mobs could use jump pads. Also, for this method, you need to grind moats since you'll need to buy plumber's buckets to craft the chum caps, and then you'll need to buy the buckets outside of the rift as well. So I factored that all in too. Ultimately, I was able to craft 60 chum cap buckets, which sold for 40 mil. After subtracting the cost of the buckets and grinding moats, we're left at about 33 mil an hour. It's much easier to sell the buckets during Marina because the demand significantly increases and sometimes the price goes up as well. Speaking of grinding moats is another great money-making method inside the Rift. There are a couple different methods to grind moats, but the best one is killing vampires without doing the Vampire Slayer. You get moats for kills, and you can sell melons to the moat scrubber for additional moats. This method is the best if you have all 5 McGrubbers burgers because you get more rift from these pickup particles and the melons will be more valuable. As you can see, my melons sell for 25% more since I have all 5 burgers. Make sure that you get all the blood effigies so that you can deal more damage and then kill the vampires in fewer hits. After an hour, I was able to get 289,000 moats. Now, there are a couple ways that you can convert these items into things you can sell. You could buy Shen's auction items, reflection books, the water buckets we saw before, ferret pets, but the best thing to do is to buy the Shen's auction house items, since you don't have to grind anything else alongside them to be able to purchase.
Unfortunately, the next Shen's auction's at 5 a.m. and there's just no way I'm waking up that early. Alright guys, so it's 4:40 a.m.
And let's check the prices of these shed items. So there are a couple items that are worth good money that can be sold outside the Rift, such as the Prism and dead cat food. The Prism went for about 6 mil motes and can be sold for 810 mil at 135 coins per mote, which is about 39 mil an hour.
The dead cat food sold for 1 mil motes and can be crafted into 4-eyed fish, which sells for about 163 mil, which is about 47 mil an hour. The Flex Helm is a really cool item which can change into different cute animal heads. Unfortunately, it's just not worth paying motes for, but it's definitely cool and you should try to buy it with coins. So yeah, the Rift is still extremely profitable. In fact, most of these methods got better over time. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more Hypixel Skyblock money-making methods.